There are over 120 bolts that are necessary to remove in replacing a transmission in a Volvo XC90 T6. Volvo used the General Motors 4T65 transmission in the S80 and XC90 from model years 1995 to 2005. During this time, Volvo experienced several issues with these transmissions, as described in TripleEdgePerformance.com. This is a company that specializes in rebuilding this specific transmission. If you visit bobistheoilguy.com, there are photos of what happens internally to the transmissions. All the gold/bronze material in the bottom of the pan is evidence that the clutch packs have failed and are causing the transmission to slip when shifting. This indicates that your transmission needs to be replaced. I was a Volvo master technician for 5 years and have replaced several of these transmissions. I will describe the proper steps to take to replace your transmission at home. There are 3 main steps that you need to take in order to replace your transmission. First would be the upper engine bay work, second would be lower work, and lastly would be actually removing the transmission. The engine bay work starts with removing the engine bay covers. You need to do this in order to gain access to all the bolts necessary to remove. First you remove the airbox, then you would remove the transmission bell housing bolts that are accessible from the engine bay. Then you would remove the starter motor so that you can gain access to the torque converter bolts. You need to remove the torque converter bolts so that the torque converter will not stay attached to the back of the engine to allow the transmission to come out. You would also need to disconnect the computer harness during this step and also install the engine hangers. You need to do this because to remove the transmission on this specific vehicle, you have to remove the subframe. And to do this, you need to hang the engine in the car using special hangers so that the engine will not fall out when you take the subframe off. And be very careful to remember where all of your bolts went. You can label them, put them in plastic baggies, do whatever you have to do to remember where they need to go back. I personally like to just place them in separate piles or take the bolts that you take off and put them with the component that you removed. So that pretty much sums up all the upper engine bay work that is necessary. So once you get that done, the next best step would be to get the vehicle on 4 jack stands at the same level so that you can gain access to underneath the vehicle. So you'll want to remove the front wheels after you get the vehicle on jack stands, and then there will be 2 splash pans that you need to remove to uncover the subframe. There will be several bolts attached to the subframe that you'll need to remove for wiring harnesses, for the steering rack, for sway bar links, the control arms. You'll need to remove all these bolts so that you can remove the subframe. Once all those bolts are done and taken out, you'll remove the 4 mounting bolts for the subframe, and you'll actually take the subframe off the vehicle and set it to the side so that the transmission and engine are just hanging there from the hangers that you installed previously. And then you'll need to remove the axles on both sides and also the chain gear for the 4-wheel drive system. And then at that point you can take the steering rack loose and let it hang from the tie rods. And the next step would be to remove the transmission itself. So place a jack under the transmission and lower the engine a little bit so that the transmission can come out. You'll remove the transmission to the driver's side and slide it out and lower it down, and the transmission will be out. So the transmission in your Volvo may have some problems, but that should not deter you from owning the vehicle. They are great cars with several industry-leading safety features. If you like to work with your hands and are not afraid of getting dirty, then this is a great job for you. It takes a lot of patience, but in the end it is worth it. I have given you the correct process to remove the transmission. Now comes the fun part. remembering where all those 120 plus bolts go. Don't worry though, I'm sure you labeled everything. Thank you for watching, and good luck.